I'm Estelle Bingham, and this is the Love Purpose Connection podcast. Here on Love Purpose Connection, I want to explore how to discover and really develop the secrets of a good life. I'm a holistic therapist and healer, and so over this series, I'll be sharing frank, inspiring, sometimes raw, often joyful conversations with a different guest each time, exploring just what those three words really mean, and also, crucially, how you can discover and develop them in your own life. This week, I'm talking to Emma Colyer MBE, founder and director of the Body and Soul charity that's been running for 24 years, initially to support young people and families affected by HIV up and down the UK. Today, it's organically evolved and runs amazing programs helping many people who've suffered from adverse childhood experiences. Emma describes her own adoption story and how her healing journey has truly informed how she runs the Body and Soul charity, which is underpinned with the three fundamental values of love, bravery, and wisdom. This conversation does contain references to suicide. Welcome, Emma, to the Love Purpose Connection podcast. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Hi, Estelle. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I know you're really super busy, and it's just, getting a moment in your schedule, your crazy busy schedule, Body and Soul is a real honor. So I really appreciate the fact that you've made some time, and we are going to talk about the charity a little bit later. But I think first we'll begin with our beginning, the how we met moment. You came to see me, and we began a dialogue and then a journey, sort of this healing journey that you went on, very powerful healing journey around your adoption story.
Yeah, I mean, when I came to see you, I had no idea we were going to go on this journey. And it did feel like something else was calling me to you, because it was a busy day that day, and I was meant to be at yours at 7:30, and I kept being late. And that wasn't like me, but I knew I had to come and see you. And from that moment of connecting with you, and that moment of about something else, really, it was about connected to relationships, connected to other things that were going on in life. And yeah, actually, that wasn't the reason I came to see you. The reason really was about the deep wound that I had in being abandoned as a baby and growing up with a mother that didn't really have the skills, the ability to be a mother or the mother that I needed.
So that was really that kind of twofold story, wasn't there? There was we were sort of processing this initial abandonment, and then also this really painful relationship with your adopted mother and what that looked like, and then going on to find your birth parents a little bit later on, and sort of really resolving and bringing some light and sort of transformation to these pieces.
It was the most significant journey, not that my other parts of my life haven't been, and being able to get through many of the things that I did were equally important, but there was something very significant in this going into the darkness and going into that dark night of the soul, going through it, not adapting in any way, not shortcutting. And when I think about it, I brought real intention to that process, the process of looking for my biological parents. I didn't do it half-hearted, which meant I wasn't doing other things. I was very focused because it felt like I needed to bring my whole being to that experience, however difficult.
Do you feel like that's a very important thought for the audience, that when we are working with our stories, there's this focus that's necessary?
Yeah, I think because we're so complex as human beings, and we can trick ourselves. So I can think, I'm working through something, but really it's kind of at a more, if I imagine ourselves with lots of different layers, and it makes me think of the Russian dolls, and there's so many layers, and to really get into that littlest one of those nest dolls and connect with the originating trauma requires focus and a willingness, because we can have parts of us that are more willful or more disruptive and more like the sort of, in a sense, the ego going, no, you don't want to do that, go over there. It's like real commitment to showing up to yourself, to like, I'm going to go on this, and this is not going to be easy, and I'm not going to necessarily enjoy it, because you have to kind of go into those depths to move through, and there is no other way. And so, yeah, I think you can't do that half-hearted. If we're going to heal in this lifetime, move through those wounds, then I'm going to go through the eye of the storm. I'm going to go through it.
At what point did you sort of think about Body and Soul, an HIV charity?
I think so. It was a bit of a time through that, like sort of my early 20s was really difficult. And I think, again, like many young people in that time when you've been through early difficulties, suicide was very present for me, attempting suicide and trying to make sense of everything and not feeling able to, not having the words. And I think coming out of that and in a sense choosing life, I wanted to do something that made a difference in the small way I could, rather than trying to think like the world's just a mess. It felt more, I can do my bit here. So yeah, it was never a plan to set up a charity. It was never a plan to even think about necessarily HIV. And I often got asked, like, why is HIV? And how I do make sense of it now, in that it does connect to love, and it connects to, in the early 80s and 90s, how HIV was something that was considered so stigmatized. And in a sense, it was unlovable. There was an unlovable energy around it. So I think I make sense of that. So it happened. It didn't happen by decision. It feels like it happened by something greater, that I was in a position at another HIV charity, and there was a need for women, for children, for young people, for heterosexual men to have a space to process what living with such a stigmatized condition was.
And so you provided that space. That's what Body and Soul became, this sort of endeavor.
Yeah, it became a home, a place that you can be all of you, a place that you can be loved and met and held, and not broken down into HIV in a way. And I think that's been our journey, not to reduce people to a diagnosis, to a label, that you are the wholeness of you, and we see you as a wholeness of you, and not as a damaged person, but as someone who, yes, HIV or whatever it is now is part of, but you also have lots of strengths and amazingness to bring. So I think that was our difference, and it has always been our difference, looking at the whole person.
The whole person approach.
Yeah.
The charity has actually evolved, hasn't it?
Yeah. What I really love about how we've evolved is that we didn't do it by deciding, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. We evolved more organically with the people that were coming to Body and Soul. Actually, the main thing that was getting in the way of their lives was about trauma. And we work with such a breadth of issues. And so it became more like an organic change into, let's be, in a sense, our organization went through probably what I went through, like being in your truth and connecting to your truth. And so Body and Soul was connecting to its truth, and the truth being, actually, we're a trauma charity, and this is what we've been doing from day one. It was just framed in the intersection of HIV, but that isn't what we're about. And so, yeah, we've grown massively over the last sort of 8-10 years.
So what do you think the secret of your success is, Emma? And we obviously call it Body and Soul. Do you think it has something to do with this understanding, or just even an acknowledging of the soul? So the sort of the something more about a human being.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like sometimes we're a bit counterculture, in that if we go to hospital, they look at whichever bit you're presenting with. They don't really show interest in understanding why are you presenting with this? What is at the root cause of this? And I think yeah, somehow, even when we started, we knew through the name of Body and Soul that it is about our body. You know, we hold all our trauma in our body and we heal through our body, whether that is also through words, but you know, the power of it being held cellularly in our body. We know that scientifically, and the connection to the soul, the to beyond, who we're meant to be, and our purpose in life. So, and I think that brings, for everyone that walks through the door, you know, we're not going to get it right for everyone, but I feel like being met with your wholeness and people wanting to get to know you in your wholeness and accept you in your wholeness is a profound experience, because most times we're not.
So you've done amazing things. You talk about being counterculture. You curated a wonderful festival, the Barbican, didn't you? The Love Festival. You know, you had really powerful speakers. And of course, the speakers are really cutting edge in the world of neuroscience and childhood adversity and what happens to the brain. And it's like, you know, that really is what Body and Soul is today. But it is also really interesting work that in my work, I work with. So it's so wonderful to see it kind of presented with all of these great minds. I mean, we talked a little bit about the polyvagal theory, didn't we? And we've talked about that before. But for the audience who don't really know what that's about, what happens to the brain, Emma, when a child experiences trauma? What's going on inside?
I think in terms of, like, you know, there are so many great thinkers and people that really understand the neuroscience now and our brains. And, you know, our brains, when they're overloaded with trauma and overtaken, you know, they shut down, and it's a protective, it's a survival. You know, we come out of our prefrontal cortex, our thinking ability, and we shut down. We go into our more reptilian brain to survive, however that might be. But we also know now, which we didn't know years ago, and obviously you know, I know you speak about and understand, is the plasticity of our brains and the fact that they can repair and they can keep repairing. And so that sort of gives, whatever age we are, that gives us hope that we can keep repairing and we can keep generating different neural pathway to manage what's impacted us as children. And, you know, I think at the event that you're talking about, the Love versus Trauma event, you know, the significance of the different kinds of speakers. So you know, from the Stephen Porges, who talks about polyvagal nerve as one of our most powerful nerves. It's like we don't even learn this stuff, and that it's like at school and growing up, and you don't learn the importance of our nervous system, the polyvagal nervous system. You don't learn the importance of food and what we eat and how that affects our nervous system. And so it's really understanding that when we have certain behaviors, and people cannot judge someone. So we often hear professionals saying people in a suicide program are attention seeking, or they're presenting, you know what, you know, someone should just stop self-harming, just stop whatever. And I mean, again, I know that you know this and you work with this, Estelle, but there's understanding that adaptive behavior, things that have helped you survive, things that have helped you. So I'm without doubt, and some people can pathologize, for instance, that, you know, have I done what I'm doing as an adaptive behavior? And maybe some of that could be true, but I genuinely believe it's connected to my soul contract. But we all will have adaptive behaviors to have managed to get through, and we have to bring compassion to them, but know when they don't serve us anymore, and have the space and willingness to be like, actually, that, you know, that part of me can go on holiday now. I don't need it, and there are new parts. And I think working with you and thinking about my journey in terms of searching for my birth parents, understanding that the person who had cared for me I didn't need to be indebted to in any way, was understanding my adaptive behaviors and becoming more in my truth and more aligned.
What about your support in the kind of spiritual realms? What do you feel surrounds you in the light?
I mean, I'm quite disciplined in my practice. Like,
tell me a little bit about your practice, Emma.
My practice. I mean, it's a bit like my own thing. It's like, it's
we're
not,
all interested,
you know,
though. We want to know.
So every morning I sort of meditate and sort of mantra, like every morning, 15 minutes before I do anything to enter the day, bringing intention into the day to bring love and kindness and, wisdom to be used of service. I think there's something around the importance of daily practice. So I don't assume how I was yesterday will be today unless I bring that intention. I call in the angels every day. I'm calling in Gabriel, Uriel, Michael, Raphael. I'm asking the divine to channel me to be of service. That's really important. I don't miss that any day. And I feel that energy. I trust. I also have trust because I think Body and Soul we're not a rich charity. We're not, we weren't set up by someone that had loads of connections. I didn't have loads of connections. Every year we just make it, but that's 25 years of making it. And I feel like without that faith and that trust and that real belief, then I wouldn't be able to be still here because people burn out. I'm not saying that I will never or that I'm, infallible, but I feel like my belief and faith and trust in something greater, in the realm of divine and the realm of calling in for me every morning that angels, takes me every day.
I really love what you said about you don't rely on how you were feeling the day before to kind of inform today, because every time, and I really emphasize this actually, because we have to sort of, and this is really about being present, isn't it? And what is happening right in this moment, and really attuning every day to, the right energy, like putting yourself and really calling it in every single day.
Yeah.
It's so powerful and it's so important. And it does shape the nature of that day. It's like, even though it would be quite nice to rely on that really great meditation you had last week where you felt really good under the tree, it's like, no, we are, that is the sort of nature of our existence, isn't it? To just be in this ever evolving presence.
It's like we wash every day, don't we? We wash and cleanse ourselves, and we clean ourselves of the, whether it's the dirt sort of, traveling or London or whatever it is, there's a cleansing and a cleaning. And it's like doing that with our hearts and our souls. And we're bringing that freshness and you wouldn't, if you had the chance to wash, you're going to wash.
Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do some psychic cleaning. Basically, we're going to have a good old rub down, scrub up. We all need one of those for sure. So when I say the words love, purpose, connection to you, Emma, tell me what you feel in your heart.
In my heart, when you say that, it feels it feels like it beats and it expands. It's like, it feels infinite and there's an abundance. And I think, love is like a daily practice. Love is what we're here for. We all engage in love in some way, whether it's partners, families, whoever it is. It's like, that's what it's about. And then when you say purpose, again, that's like our incarnation, whatever that is, not just doing charity work. Like, I don't think, whether it's, if your purpose is in the city or creative or whatever. And then connection is like, again, like we talked before, it's like, we're wired up for that. So like it's like they're all in one and they're encapsulated in my heart. And it's just deep, man, isn't it? It's just, that's what it's about. That's what everything is about.
Well, that's amazing, Emma. And you know how much I love Body and Soul. And it's just been so amazing to actually get this podcast done. And have you here
It was
today.
A close one.
It was a close one, as life often is. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Estelle. And it's great to have you out in the world creating podcasts.
To find out more about Body and Soul Charity, you can go to the bodyandsoulcharity.org website, or you can find Body and Soul Charity on Instagram. You can find me at estelle.bingham. If you've enjoyed the show, do share it, rate it, and review it. This podcast is a Feast Collective production. Until the next one, wishing you all more love, purpose, and connection.